Apprentices and acolytes, welcome to Unlock the Knowledge, and today we're going to be talking about the greatest Sith Lords of all time, and who is, that's right, you heard it, who is the most powerful. Ready up.
Ready up, my destiny.
Welcome, apprentices and acolytes. Are you ready for the knowledge? Because you know, every single time the podcast is heard all around the galaxy, you're coming in to the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and I am here today to give you the knowledge. That's right, fam, you know it. And today, you know what? I am being pushed to the brink of my creativity juices, baby. And now I'm getting into things that I've always wanted to do. And I think that there's so many people that are like, oh yeah, you know, that Lord Dagovere guy, he's just a reactor. He doesn't really know too much about the lore, but he's just a reactor. But you know what? Today's the day, baby, that I show you what I'm really made of, because I want to go in and show you all this cool stuff. I'm going so crazy right now. We're learning. I mean, not even just like learning. It's just I already know a lot of this stuff. But the thing is I'm digging deeper right into the Sith meditation. I'm unlocking all the holocrons, baby, getting all the knowledge, and it's so good. It's so juicy, and I just want to tell you all about everything else. One of my favorite books that I've ever bought is the Essential Atlas for Star Wars. And it's probably one of the greatest Star Wars books in all continuity for Star Wars. And the crazy thing is even to this day, they still don't have a canon version of it. So there's a lot that you can take and still say that it is canon. You know, to me, a lot of people get really upset and fed up, like, oh well, you know, they erase this. Yes, it's a substitute. We have to like it, and no, it's not a substitute. Honestly, for me, it's just a fill in the blank. So the biggest example that I have of this is the Old Republic versus the High Republic. They are thousands of years separate away from each other. The Old Republic, of course, came first, not only chronologically, but yes, in time, right? So we have that as well, and then we have the High Republic, which is only 100 years before the 100 to 200 years before the Phantom Menace, and a little bit further that with their newest wave. So it's not even like the High Republic contradicts or tries to disrespect the Old Republic. It's just something new. Because that's the one thing about the Old Republic and that entire timeline, is that there's so much time. There's thousands and thousands of years that separate them apart. And Revan could have done everything that he ever wanted to do in Knights of the Old Republic and all the books in Star Wars The Old Republic, same thing with Bane. Because even when you get to that point with Bane, there are still thousands of years before we even get to Plagueis. And Plagueis is only about 50 or so years before the High Republic, give or take. You know, with, you know, Star Wars is really weird, especially how people live and die in this world because of the Force, and it augments their life expectancy. But yeah, okay, yeah, you get what I'm saying here. But Star Wars is so beautiful with how you can just pick something up and it can literally be that. And we've seen versions of that in Mandalorian, you know, and how they transition these characters from, you know, the expanded universe into the live action. But today I want to talk about specifically versus, and that's not something that I usually do, is like taking a character versus another character. But today I want to talk about the Old Republic Sith Lords versus the trilogy Sith Lords, you know, the trilogy bad guys, the movie villains. And I think there's a lot of people that don't understand, even though these characters are in movies, they are the most powerful. And as much as I am an Old Republic fan, as much as I love Malgus, as much as I love my boy Darth Revan, right? As much as I love the person that started it all with the rules, right? The rule of two, master and apprentice, Darth Bane. All of them are getting slapped by Darth Sidious, all right? And here's the thing, Knights of the Old Republic, right? Knights of the Old Republic 2, one of the greatest Star Wars games. I think it's actually the best written Star Wars game because of Traya, and the dialogue in there I think is some of the best in Star Wars of all time, baby, of all time, okay? So you need to go back and watch some YouTube's video before you get into that, because it's hard. It's hard to get into it if you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So go search up these quotes from Darth Traya, see what she's talking about. And one of the greatest quotes that she has is when they visit the Valley of the Sith Lords. And one of the greatest things she says is when they visit a lot of the tombs, okay? This is Korriban, right? This is the ancient home world of the Sith, and all is just desolate. It's literally looked like you gone back 100 years after the meteor hit, all right, Earth, and all the dinosaurs are dead. Except the dinosaurs, it's just all Korriban and the Sith. You know, it's like a ghost town. and they enter the Valley of the Dark Lords, which is one of the coolest places in all of Star Wars, and that's essentially their graveyard, right? Their tombs. All these obelisks, all these monumental Sith tombs and Sith statues from an entire society that we never got to see. And there's tombs inside that you go in there, and one of there that she's talking is Tulak Horde. And Kreia says this specifically about the old ancient Sith Lords. If you were to face a Sith Lord of the old times, you would realize that you're a child compared to the prowess of the ancient Sith Lords. And she specifically talks about this with Tulak Horde. And Tulak Horde, right, was the greatest saber duelist of all time. At least so we know from the ancient Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic. And, you know, Kreia goes on about how great they are, how powerful they are, and, you know, we're just meddling with toys compared to what they did and their omnipotence, right? Their all-powerfulness, okay? And she's making them seem very, very, very overpowered. But here's the thing, okay? Tulak Horde, Naga Sadow, Marco Ragnos, all these characters like Revan, Malik, okay? Ajunta Pool. The thing is, there is one gatekeeper, okay? There is one gatekeeper keeping them from being the be-all Sith Lords that they are. And that's Emperor Vitiate. Now, Emperor Vitiate is, of course, the most powerful, one of the most powerful entities to come out of the Old Republic. And when you look at power gaps and who the characters are, none of them were able to contend with Vitiate. The only character that is able to contend with these characters is our created character in the MMO Star Wars The Old Republic. Because that character specifically goes out, not only fights the Sith Lords of the ancient time, not only is raised in the tombs and the slave yards of Korriban that we see, and of course visits the Valley of the Dark Lords. So we get an interest, we get an experience in dipping into that pool of knowledge with Star Wars. But the reason why Vitiate himself is such a massive gatekeeper, and the reason why I say gatekeeper is he's literally keeping everyone else from walking through that door that would solidify them as the greatest of all time. The goats, baby, the most powerful Sith Lords you've ever seen. And the reason is because the two most powerful Sith Lords of that time, arguably, are Darth Malik and Darth Revan, okay? And so almost at their prime, I want to say Darth Revan and Darth Malgus. Definitely Darth Malgus. I want to say Darth Malik. I apologize, guys. Darth Malik, please don't kill me. Darth Malik and Darth Revan go out into uncharted space, where the dark side is calling them. This is after they've essentially done everything they needed to do in the Mandalorian Wars, alright? And that's what the whole basis of the story is. And now, for those of you that do not know, the Jedi didn't want to intervene. Malik and Revan were like, F this, we go in here. Revan and Malik single-handedly turned the tide of that entire war. And it was the most violent war the galaxy had seen of the time, alright? So they take out everybody, the greatest people in that war, including Mandalore the Great, who was the leader of Mandalore. You know, he's the big bad of that time. So you find out that Mandalore the Great is actually doing this entire thing for the Sith Lord, you know, or the Darth. They call him the Sith Lord, but he is the Darth. He is the biggest bad out there, right? Turns out he's the Emperor of that time later in the video game. So Malik and Revan, being the badasses that they are, they go out and they venture into uncharted space to find and confront this Dark Lord. Well, guess what? In their prime, after being seasoned veterans of this war and fighting the most omnipotent people that you honestly in that era, these are the most powerful people in that era. They find the Emperor, they find Darth Vitiate, and Darth Vitiate converts both of them to the dark side. Do you understand that? He takes these two people that are considered heroes of the Republic, heroes of the Jedi, heroes of the entire galaxy, and he takes both of them at the same time and turns them to the dark side. Then, of course, after that, they venture out, and then we get to see the happenings of Knights of the Old Republic, the first game, right? So, that is the issue. These are in my opinion, these are the most decorated, right? Sith Lords of our time, not just in Star Wars, but also as fans. We all see Darth Revan as the biggest, most awesome person in the entire world. He's the bestest for the restest, right? But the thing is, truly, he's not as powerful as the video game made him out to be. Even with the games and how the mechanics work, yes, you're very powerful. Yes, you defeat Darth Malak. Of course, it's a great story. But that does not mean Darth Revan is the greatest of all time. He is not. In fact, he is not, I don't even think he's anywhere near half of the power of Darth Vitiate is. And after the game, so I remember how I was talking about how Malak and Darth Revan were there in their prime. Well, yeah, I would argue that when you play through that story, you're probably more powerful than what you were in the memories because, you know, you come back. You have atonement. You essentially are the best Jedi in that game, the most powerful character in that game, and that's what you do. You become Darth Revan, right? So the thing is when you have all that knowledge, you have to understand that Vitiate is still out there. Vitiate was not ever fought or confronted after that, and that also made Revan, in my opinion, although he's more powerful single-handedly and he has Bastila by his side, he is less powerful because of someone like Darth Malak is no longer there to help him defeat the Emperor of their time, right, Darth Vitiate. And so later in this lore, you find out that Darth Revan actually goes back and does confront him all by himself. And you know what happens? Darth Revan loses. And then he's tormented and tortured for 300 years, to the point that it splits his soul in half. One side light side, one side dark side, which I think is pretty contradicting, and I think that actually breaks the laws of the Force, but that's a whole other podcast, okay? So I don't know what more do you need to understand that Darth Revan was not that dude. Yes, he was that dude compared to everybody else around him in his era, but compared to the Vitiate, who is, in my opinion, Darth Sidious of that era, nah, bro, he's getting washed every time. He's getting the O2 and the handshake, he's getting sent to losers, and he's getting double eliminated by your boy, Darth Vitiate. And that's the power that we have. We have to measure everybody by the best that they have in that era. And so that includes not just Darth Bane, that includes Darth Malgus, Darth Malak, Ajunta Pul, Tulak Horde. Everybody is getting washed and eliminated by Darth Vitiate. So now, if you want to talk about the Sith Lords and how powerful they are single-handedly, now I really believe that it's going to be, and I don't know, this could be controversial, okay? Because I think Darth Bane isn't overrated in terms of a character and how decorated he is and how amazing he is, because I love Darth Bane because he started it all, he started the rule of two, but he also got that knowledge from Darth Revan, okay? He got that knowledge from Darth Revan, and because of that knowledge and because of who Darth Revan is, and you can really play with whether or not, you know, which era of Darth Revan was this? Was this after the game where he went to Korriban again and he started to seek out where the Emperor might have been to confront him? So this is after, or was it prior that, before he was betrayed by Malak, before the game started? So those are two different power entities, but I do believe this was kind of after the video game where that holocron was, and that ultimately taught Bane. So Vitiate is first, Vitiate is top, okay? After that, second is Darth Revan. Third, in my opinion, is Darth Bane or Tulak Horde. I think those two are so close because of their skills as a Sith Lord, but I would honestly put Tulak Horde over Darth Bane because he was so decorated in his time as the greatest lightsaber duelist of all time. And I think they couldn't even kill him one-on-one. I think he was actually assassinated by one of his allies. I have to go back and read that lore again, because they didn't actually kill him. But the weird thing about, you know, Tulak Horde is he's kind of the Chuck Norris of Star Wars, because he has so many rumors, he has so many jokes, he has so many feats about, oh yeah, Tulak Horde did this, oh, Tulak Horde did this, Tulak Horde did this, Tulak Horde grabbed an entire armada and brought it down, he was able to pull planets and things like that. You know, it's stuff like that where it's all he said, she said stuff, and I think the Sith are kind of smelling their own, you know, and they're like, yeah, bro, he was so good, bro, no one's ever gonna beat him, he was so good, you know. And I think there's a lot of Sith pretenders out there that don't really understand that, you know, while as decorated as Tulak Horde was, he didn't have someone like Mace Windu around. He didn't have someone like Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi around. And that's the issue, because you also have to compare them to the Jedi in the movies. And if you compare them to the Jedis in the movies, guess who you have to compare them to? Darth Vader. Why? Because Darth Vader essentially is the person that eliminates everybody. Yes, you could say Kenobi did this and had one up him, but at the end of the day, because of the story, Darth Vader is alive, Kenobi is not. Darth Vader is more powerful at the end of that trilogy, Kenobi is not. Kenobi is dead. He's done. He has no place in this. He is a higher plane. He's serving something else. And then, if you have to compare that to Darth Vader, you have to compare that to Darth Sidious. And we all know how powerful Darth Sidious was compared to Darth Vader. That's why he's the be-all, be-all. That's why Sidious made Vader weaker, because intentionally putting him into the suit. There's all these rules when you have, in my opinion, that you have to follow, and how these things all come according to plan and their power gap. And there's a huge power gap between the Old Republic and the movie Star Wars, especially the prequel trilogy, because these are the best of the best. And that's what's supposed to signify the tragedy of Darth Vader, is that these are the most glorified Jedi in the entire era, the entire existence, right, of the Jedi Order. So you have that Grand Council that's filled with dudes, all right? The best of the best, like Size C10, okay? Like your boy Mace Windu. Oh my gosh, like Yoda, like the Master of Sarisu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, man, okay? And your boy Anakin Skywalker, who is, without a doubt, the chosen one, and his potential was greater than everyone there. Even though he got washed by Dooku in Attack of the Clones, even though he got dropped by Kenobi, he is still decorated as the conduit of the Force for that era, and that's why I don't think a lot of those Sith Lords would come close to your boy, especially if he was not inhibited by the dark side of the Force and his feelings, which ultimately always got the best of him in every single fight. And that's the thing too. When Darth Vader, you're not talking about Anakin Skywalker now, you're telling me that Darth Malgus, oh, I completely forgot about Malgus. I think Malgus is powerful too. I actually think Malgus, I think Malgus might be more powerful than Revan. So, and I like, if I saw Revan and Malgus going together, I think Malgus would win. And I don't think it's like it's by a long shot. I think it's very close. I think Malgus barely comes on top because of how powerful he is now in the newest lore. So let's take this back again. So we got top 10 Sith Lord of all time, okay? And I don't even know if we're gonna get to 10. Vitiate is the most powerful. No one's coming close to him. He's too strong. He is literally Darth Sidious of the Old Republic. This man literally kills entire planets because of how powerful he is in his Force drain. But that's the thing too. He is a character that has become powerful because of other factors. You know, there is, how do I say, there's an augmentation in his power because of a ritualistic sense of ability that he's created. The Emperor himself has become power over time because he himself has learned, by his natural ability, and has learned and become more powerful and understood the Force. And I think that's why you have to give Darth Sidious the benefit of the doubt, and ultimately, you know, when he is in Rise of Skywalker, he's just too damn strong and too powerful. Vitiate versus Sidious, it's close, but Sidious is winning that bout. And if the most powerful entity of the Old Republic cannot beat the most powerful entity in the movies, I'm sorry, no one else is throwing a stone at some of these other characters that were trained by Darth Sidious. So we have Vitious at the top, Malgus and Revan at 2. You could take whichever one, and then we have Bane and Tulak Horde at 3. I think they're amazing. I think they're fantastic. I think they're top 3 Sith Lords. I think they're top 10 Sith Lords of all time, straight up. And then after that, I would say it's Malak, Ajunta Pool, you know, and a few others. I don't think there's. I mean, Naga Sadao is up there as well, of course. You know, Marco Ragnos. You know, they're all fantastic Sith Lords that have done so much. But I think, what do you think? I mean, I also forgot Exar Kun, honestly. But I think Exar Kun is right up there too, with like Naga Sadao and everyone else, because Exar was powerful, because you have to give Exar credit, okay? And this is someone that I feel like I haven't talked about the entire podcast, but Exar Kun was so strong in the expanded universe that he was possessing all of Luke Skywalker's students when they went to go to Yavin. But the issue with that is that Exar Kun, while he was possessing, he didn't really kill a lot of people, and he was also undone by Luke Skywalker. Now, Exar Kun was actually banished by the entire Jedi Council back when his story was created. So I think that is an incredible feat, that he literally had the entire Jedi literally trying to put this guy away. And there's a whole story with that, but I feel like that's a whole other podcast, fam. But so we have a Vitiate at top 1, right? And then we have Malgus and Revan, and then below that we have Tulak Horde and Bane, and then I want to say Naga Sadow, Exar Kun, Juntapul, and who else? Marco Ragnos. I think that's essentially your top 10, top 15 Sith Lords of all time. And now, before this podcast ends, I have to talk about the new Sith Lords, right? So let's talk about Darth Maul, who isn't really a Sith Lord. He's just kind of an assassin. He wasn't really seen or decorated as one. He was just kind of the plan. And then Dooku, and then of course Dooku was the replaced by Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. So I think Maul is taking out everybody on that list except for maybe Bane and Tulak Horde and Revan and Malgus and Vitiate. I think Darth Maul could actually contend with a lot of those characters. Because he was so decorated, because he was a master in every single style of Jedi art. He was a beast. Don't sleep on Maul. Now, the issue here is Dooku, because Dooku was a fantastic duelist, okay? And you have to understand, how am I measuring this by? Dooku absolutely gave the hands to Anakin Skywalker. He absolutely gave the hands to just about every single Jedi that he came across, including Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker are some of the greatest duelists of the entire timeline of Star Wars, and I think they're taking out just about everybody in that top 10 list, except for Vitiate, okay? Because I think Vitiate is just too strong for these people to contend with, all right? So, Revan, I think, does really good, but I think Revan loses to those characters. So, if Count Dooku beats those characters, if Count Dooku beats Obi-Wan Kenobi, if Count Dooku beats Anakin Skywalker, not Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker, those are two different demons, okay? If he beats everybody else, then there's no way that any of these other Sith Lords are coming at him. The only people that are beating Count Dooku is Vitiate. Vitiate and maybe Revan. Maybe Revan, maybe Malgus. I think Malgus is actually beating Count Dooku because we've seen Count Dooku struggle with strength, and that strength simply coming from Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith, because I think Malgus is on the level of Darth Vader, but we'll get to that. So again, Count Dooku is beating everybody on that top 10 list except for Malgus, maybe Revan, and he's absolutely not beating Vitiate. So now we have Darth Vader, okay? Darth Vader is washing every single character except for Malgus and except for Vitiate. The reason why he loses against Vitiate is because Vitiate is so powerful with lightning and force lightning, and I just don't think Darth Vader can handle that because it's literally another Darth Sidious, and that's why he was put into that outdated, mechanized, whatever you want to call it, super outdated pieces of technology. So I just think that's going to hold Darth Vader back, and that's just the way it is. Vader loses to Vitiate. But Malgus versus Darth Vader is probably one of the greatest fights of all time. And I see this going either way, but I have to pick Darth Vader because of bias, because he's my favorite. And I personally just think that Darth Vader is going to get back up. I think that Darth Vader is going to get back up every single time. And while I love Malgus so much, because I literally think he's Darth Vader of that era, I think he's going to give Darth Vader the respect that he deserves. He's going to see who Darth Vader is. And I think they would have, not a friendship, but some type of respect between each other. But I do think Darth Vader wins that slightly, man. Like if this is a football game, it's 23-24. It's 23-24 fourth quarter. 3 seconds left on the clock, bro. That's how it's going down. Straight up. I think it's so very close. They are two beasts. And Darth Vader even learned from Darth Malgus to the point where Emperor Darth Sidious had given him, you know, scrolls and books and things like that. Vader, this is who I want you to be. Be him, you know? So I think that says a lot about Malgus and how powerful he is. And it's in that Book of the Sith book, which is incredible. Okay, so we have Darth Vader, and then we have finally the Emperor. And this is the thing, like I told you before. The Emperor is so strong. And I think there's so many different types of Palpatine, right, of Darth Sidious. And so you have Revenge of the Sith Palpatine, who is at that time the most powerful Force entity at that time. And then you have Return of the Jedi Palpatine, who is Darth, you know, even George Lucas says he, you know, he's an 8 right now, but he's about to be an 11, right? Or he's a 9 right now and he's about to be a 12, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, by the way. So when he turns Luke Skywalker, that's it. It's over. It's a wrap, baby. It's done. And by the way, that's in Return of the Jedi alone. So he's about to become an 11, right? He's about to become an 11 in Return of the Jedi. Rise of Skywalker, that dude is almost a 15. And he might even be a 20 because of the most ridiculous stuff that I've seen in Star Wars, where he's taking the most powerful Force sensitive, because Kylo Ren is very strong in that movie. Rey, I think, is a little weaker, and he's taking them and just throwing them around like puppets, and then he's sucking the life out of them. And it was like some Dragon Ball Z stuff. This guy picked up Kylo Ren and just threw Ben Solo right across all of Exegol, bro. This guy, like, you know that spitting beam of Vegeta? And you know, that's what he did to Kylo Ren. That's what he did to Ben Solo. Ben Solo fell through Exegol and had to climb his way all the way back up the planet, you know? And that dude is so strong, man. That dude is so powerful. So I think that says a lot about who Darth Sidious is, and that's the reason why Darth Sidious is clearing everybody on this list, bro. No one's getting close. The only person that is gonna give him a little of a fight is Vitiate, and that's if Vitiate goes up against Revenge of the Sith Palpatine. Revenge of the Sith Palpatine and Darth Vitiate of the Old Republic, I think, are probably some of the closest Sith Lords. But Return of the Jedi Darth Sidious is coming out clean. Rise of Skywalker Sidious is making everybody look like a joke. He's putting everybody on their knees and he's sucking the life out of them, bro. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen because you ain't all the Jedi, fam. It ain't happening. And that's what I feel about the Old Republic Sith versus the movie Sith, the movie villains, fam. Look, there are some fantastic things inside the expanded universe, even including the High Republic. Y'all sleep on the High Republic. You better understand that. You sleep on some of these characters. Can they contend with the Old Republic in terms of powerless? No, I don't think so. I think that the High Republic has some fantastic Jedi, and they are very strong with some incredible feats. But I think a lot of the Old Republic is kind of slapping around the High Republic. The big three. So we were talking about the most powerful right now that we know in the High Republic, so like Avar Kriss, Stellan Gios, and Elzar, man. I think they're giving it to a lot of the Old Republic. You know, I think they contend against maybe Darth Malgus. I think that they could contend maybe against Revan. But you know, anyone else I think is anyone else I think that they're getting washed. I think that entire maybe a few of the High Republic Jedi are doing well, but not right now. I just think it's too young. They haven't had enough feats. They hasn't had enough lightsaber duelists and enough, you know, dark side entities, which is kind of what the High Republic is about. There isn't really a lot of that. It's just other types of villains and things. But put some respect on the High Republic name, okay? Because they got to deal with some crazy stuff. But when it comes to the Old Republic and everything else that has happened, even with Knights of the Old Republic, I'm telling you right now, fam, none of those characters are as decorated and have as many feats and accomplishments. Oh my God, and accomplishments as the movie characters that we've seen. And that's why the movie characters are so important. Yes, of course, we've seen what happens to Darth Vader. We've seen the duels of the original trilogy and how they're so slow. Of course they're slow, they're outdated, fam. That's why you read the expanded universe and you start to understand how powerful these characters really are. And that's what people are sleeping on. They do not understand that this is the way the wills have righted. This is the way the Force has written it, and he is the prophecy of the Chosen One. And if the prophecy of the Chosen One, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, does this and contends with these characters, then the worst person in that era that is literally created the Chosen One's tragedy, Darth Sidious, he's the reason for all this happening. Nobody else in the Star Wars galaxy is coming close to that man that controlled the dark side of the Force. Nobody. And that's how I feel about that. And if you want more, you can come in and talk to me inside the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and I'll see you around, fam. Deuces.